The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Y'all ready for this?
Booyah! We are back. It is Monday, August 21st, 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Eclipse Day, and it's time for another installment of Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WWDBTV.com. My name is Bill Miller, co-host, along with
Brett Price.
And also on the line, the man, the prognosticator himself, Jorge Mish.
Happy to be involved with the worldwide headquarters of Sports Nevada, whatever the hell.
In Southern Nevada.
Yes.
Our little corner of the world. Well, listen, if you, you're looking, unfortunately, we are missing one of our comrades. Jeff, the Rascal Belknap, is out sick, and he's not feeling well because, trust me, this is the wrap-up of the college football conference programs, and he would absolutely positively be here, but we hope he is feeling better.
Yep.
And we'll be here next week. And just for let everybody know, next week, the 28th of August, a special day for yours truly, will be our last Monday show starting in the first week of September. We will be on Wednesdays from 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So if you wish to tune in live, yes, I hear people out there going, about time.
On the 28th of August, by the way.
Well, that's my birthday, actually.
Yes, I knew that, but it's a segue into Jerry Lewis.
Yeah, yes. Unfortunately, Jerry Lewis passed away.
No, it's not. He's 91.
Well, he passed away.
You define.
Yes. Somebody's putting some bad news out there if he's still alive and kicking.
Actually, somebody last night on the phone, Jerry, the crazy guy next to me, called up and said Jerry Lee Lewis died, and he called me 4 times back, called me I was a moron, and then at the end of the night, he'd been drinking a bit. He admitted that both of them died, and I said, bye, Jerry, and I hung up the phone and took the plug out of the phone, so that's how it is in Cleveland.
Well, for some bizarre reason, every month or two, Hugh Hefner, for some reason, pops up on the obituaries, and then he actually has to call in and tell people that he's still alive. So I think that's just wishful thinking from the, those Christians that have been wanting him dead for for decades
so
now.
We got the ACC ready to go.
All right, we are on it. We are starting with the ACC, and we want to let's have old George start off because I think he's very comfortable with that.
We have the tier that I have is there's only one, Virginia, 2-10 last year with an experienced group. This year, the ACC has actually risen, and they're still just the worst. So they're number 14 in that group, not far behind as a group of 4. The Boston College. One of you guys last year thought Boston College was really the solid team, and they're great. But unfortunately, their attendance has dropped 10,000 seats in 10 years every year. Get some offense, they still suck, and they're terrible. Wake Forest, pretty much everybody is back, but there's the same team. They have a great defense, can't score. Their schedule is pathetic, so that's not going to work. Same with Duke, same team, 9 years, different faces. 10 bowl teams, that just about kills them with that. And then the team I really wanted to bring up, but they just is Dino Ball, which is Syracuse. That's my one team. 19 out of 22 back, but I don't know if they could stop a mailbox on defense, so I'm just going to leave them in that little 4-pack in Tier 2. Pitt, North Carolina have the same. I mean, North Carolina's lost so much. I don't think they can recover from Trubisky. They may, but the guy that I guess LSU has a quarterback coming in, and he sucked at LSU, and I really don't see them doing much better. Still a decent team. Still, and Pitt lost Connor, who played very well last night against Atlanta, but I don't see them. They're a good team, but whatever. Now the two, as I turn my page, is right outside the top 25. Georgia Tech, they'll run. They lost Miles 2 days ago to a rules infraction, which always kills you, but they still should be able to run. Their quarterback is injured, but they still should be well. And Virginia Tech, they'll always be there with their defense. Bud Foster, maybe the greatest defensive coach since I've been around, and that's it. Now we go to our top 25. Number 20, the shakiest pick I have, and I'm doing this, I'm following everybody on the North Carolina State, and I don't know why. I don't think they're that great this year. They have a quarterback that needs to rise up. They have everybody back, but I don't like to use other people's picks, but I'm going to go with that, and it's the shaky pick of the year, which I gave you last year, and it proved out to be right. I don't think they're worthy of top 20, but I got them 20. So Miami of Florida, quarterback, that's all you need. If they have not solved the quarterback yet, the rest of the offense solid, but the defense is woo, as Ric Flair in the hospital would say. So they're fine. Louisville 15, Jackson is Jackson, but I worry about three things: 32 turnovers, 47 sacks, 83 tackles for losses, and they have a bad end of the year, but I do put them at 15. Clemson, they're 10th I got, but I really think they could be even better because their defense is so solid. If Bryant comes in as a quarterback, they should just be as good as they were because they've recruited well, and you had to do the ACC. This is a tie, but it's not a tie, if that makes any sense. I got Florida State, number 1. And I know they play Alabama in the first game of the season in Atlanta. Their defense is just superb, but and their offense is not better. So maybe I can say the winner of Alabama and Florida State is number 1 after the first week. So I'm going to bail on this one because they're very good. That's it.
Okay.
For sure.
Did you catch any of that?
We did.
Yes, I did. And just to let you know that I did, just to recap.
Yes, sir.
You have North Carolina State, Miami.
Number 20. Number. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 5.
Right.
Yes.
Miami.
4.
Louisville.
3,
Clemson, and then FSU. Kind of a toss-up depending on what happens against the game against Alabama.
With Alabama, they're still going to dominate the ACC.
Okay. All righty.
Okay.
Well,
Brett.
Well, I'm going to go back to my tier system here, going to the bottom.
You still have tears, don't you?
All the time, like a clown. So
that's because you bet too much. You got too many tears. Okay, go ahead.
I'm going, bottom tier 4. I got Syracuse. Should be fun to watch. Like you said, won't be able to tackle a mailbox. So then I got Duke, Wake Forest, Boston College, and Virginia. The ACC really is kind of divided up into two really good. They're really good teams, and then the
really
teams
bad.
are really very good at all. And then my tier 3, lower tier 3s are Pitt, North Carolina, and Georgia Tech. And then I got Virginia Tech, Miami, and North Carolina State. Like George said, Miami. I think this is the year they'll win the Coastal. The Coastal.
Brett, I've looked all the way until about 2 hours ago. Have they announced a quarterback? Because that's the key. If they have the quarterback that can do it.
That is the whole thing. And I looked at some stuff today. I think it's down between two guys, and I can't remember the names.
Sophomore and junior Richard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Been playing really well in the controlled scrimmages and things like that.
Okay, well,
we'll see how that turns out. Georgia Tech's going to be interesting. I think the Georgia Tech Tennessee game next weekend. should be an entertaining game.
Right.
I think one of those two teams could jumpstart a decent season for each of them. Then I'm going North Carolina State is interesting to me as well too. Defensively up front there, they got some NFL talent.
Top 3.
Yeah, I think they're right up there defensively with the Clemsons and the Ohio States and and things like that.
Wow.
Agree.
But they got to be able to take care of the football. Can't have the hiccups like they have before with like a loss to East Carolina.
Can Finley rise up?
Things like that. Well, I think it's one of those years. I mean, they had Clemson on the ropes last year and gave it away,
did.
and then they lose to East Carolina. Who was awful. So we'll see how they go on that. It could be one. Go ahead, George.
Go ahead.
I think they're one of those teams that's going to pull some upsets, and it could be a surprise team. But they're in the Atlantic with all the big boys, which I have next in Tier 2 is just Louisville. Louisville's kind of getting pushed aside, I think, by a lot of people. They're going to be pretty good. They got the reigning Heisman Trophy winner back. If they get some consistent offensive line play, they got tons of skill. Their defense is pretty good with quite a few people back. Their schedule is not too bad. I mean, they got to go to North Carolina. They got to play. They got Clemson at home. They got to go to Florida State, and they got to go to North Carolina State. So that's not too bad a schedule for them. Then my top 2 in Tier 1 are Clemson, who, like, if Bryant can play, they should be good and hold their own. Their defense is loaded up front again. Could be the number 1 defensive line in the country, arguably. They got a lot of skill got away from them though with Mike Williams and the tight end that's really really good. They got the kid Kane back. He's probably their best offensive player they got coming back. And then number 1 I got Florida State. Unbelievable defense, solid quarterback play, reload at running back. Their schedule isn't not bad. They got a lot of good games at home. I mean, they play Alabama to open the season. They got Miami at home. They got North Carolina State at home. They got Louisville at home. They got to go to Clemson, and then the rivalry at the end with Florida. They got to go to Florida. But my top 5, I'd go Florida State, Clemson, Louisville, Miami, and North Carolina State.
Wow.
Same as George.
You guys are locked in step there.
Update. Dodgers down 3-0, score 5 in the 7th to go up 5-3.
I think that's just the way they've been doing it. I mean, made news yesterday that they actually lost. So
Big Billy. Okay.
Yeah, listen, you guys, you came through, but George, it's something you mentioned just real quick with regard to Boston College. You said that they are averaging 10,000 less a season.
Yes, from the average has gone, and I read this on I should send you the SBNation.com. I thought Phil Steele was the best, but this has far surpassed him. And now that Phil Steele, who I hope you do not pay any dime to, now is charging for injuries updates. So I really think, and I'm from Cleveland and he's from Cleveland, but I think he's losing business and he doesn't have a pro thing. But it's they've lost 10,000. They averaged, I think it was 27,000 or whatever. I don't know exactly what it was. It's 10,000 less because, they've been playing decent, but sometimes people, when you win 10-7, I know it's nice, but it's, pick up the pace a little bit, will you? I mean, it's that defense should just slap them in the face every time they come back to the tunnel.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to ask people to watch that kind of football these nowadays.
Yeah, Boston is a real college town, but I just can't see them all saying, well, I think we need to go across town, check out that Crimson team over in Harvard.
Wait for Sunday. There's a good team that shows around there in Boston.
And to head up to Foxborough, and there you have it. Okay, well, gents, it's time to go down to the deep south and southeast, and then all the way over to Texas. SEC time. George, want to lead the way?
Well, of course. I have three teams at the bottom of my tier that we do. Missouri, up and down, roller coaster, back up, back down, back down. They'll score 31. They'll give up probably right around 31, and that's about as best I can give you right at the bottom of that. Vandy, I love. They're my fetish team. I love betting on them against the spot, but as far as winning games, they could improve and stay the same because the rest of the East have picked up the pace also. And then there's the team that I wouldn't put a nickel on is Mississippi. I don't have a clue if they're going to be complacent, no pressure, blah, blah, blah. They have no coach, or they have the new coach and on probation. You couldn't get me to do anything. Then it's kind of my sleeper team, and I've liked them for 100 years because they recruit out of Ohio, is Kentucky. I think Kentucky, they got 29 guys from Ohio and only 24 from Kentucky, and I'm prejudiced. Ohio guys are pretty damn good. And if they get a little better defense for the run-based offense, they could charge up the thing. South Carolina, they went from a really green team to a ripe team, as I put down right here, but they just don't really impress me. But and once again, the rest of that division all pick up some pace. And Mississippi State, same way. The new not the new quarterback. He'll come back with a better year than last year, but the defense really went off the board last year, and they need to get back to get about 7 points off their defensive thing. Add on Texas A&M. This is Sumlin's hot seat era right now. If they've started fast for the last every year he's been there, and they tumbled down. I think if they do it again, he'll be looking for another coordinator job maybe. In the next group, I got Arkansas, and they're building for 18. Arkansas really a running team, but they did not do very well last year running. So I think, but everything is in place for next year, and they're still going to be decent, but not as good as I think they will. And Tennessee, I think last year they thought was their year with Dobbs, 9-4 this year. I think they're going to be happy with that, and just outside the top 25. Top 25, they have 5 of them, and much lower than most people have. I got LSU at 25. I just have never liked LSU. But they always disappoint. But they got, Geis, the running back, super. Offensive line, very good. But the quarterback, Elling, doesn't really impress me. But I always say they're going to do worse, and then they turn around and kick my ass. So I put them at 25, but they could go higher. And Florida at 17. I don't think their offense will ever break 20 again. Their defense is still going to be under 20, under 20, and their graduation losses will be covered by the highly touted players. Georgia, I only have them 14th, but I have something. I wrote down no excuse to not be in the SEC championship. They got the quarterbacks, 2 of them, the running backs, Chubb and I don't know how to say it, Michael or Meckel. They're both super. Their defense is like a rock. They should not. If they don't go to the championship game, they should. It's time to move on from whatever. But the only problem they have, they've gone from 537 points, 342 down to 319. They got to score more. They get down there and they don't score as much. Sleeper team, national championship, Auburn, number 6. Can this be the year? Stidham from Baylor, stud. 270 yards a game rushing, stud. Defensive line, if they fix that, the defense is a rock. There is. At number 3, Alabama. I'm really, the only reason I'm picking number 3 because I'm tired of picking number 1. I hope the youngsters just can't do shit, but pardon my language. But they're going to be right there with Florida State, and you can put them 3, 1, 2. I'm tired of writing number 1 for the last 25 years, so that's all I have to say.
Interesting, George. Very interesting.
Yes.
Let me ask you. In fact,
sir.
let me wait till Brett has his picks in, and I just have one question for you guys.
All right. Again, my tier 4 teams, like George said, I have no idea what to expect from them.
You can't.
You stay away from them. South Carolina is down there, but I think one of those. They're interesting. They're a good young team, so they're gonna maybe pull an upset here or there. But Mizzou, I think, is one of those teams you're gonna want to watch as a fan because they're gonna score some points and give up a lot of points too. And then Vandy is one of those where they could pull a few upsets here and there. I mean, I like the quarterback play.
Great against the spot, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Tier 3, it's kind of split up. I got Mississippi State, Arkansas, Tennessee, and A&M in like the bottom part of the 3. The team I really kind of excited to see how they play out is Kentucky.
Yes.
There's something about Kentucky that is intriguing to me this year that I think they're definitely going to go bowling, but how good will they be? Their schedule sets up pretty good. They got Florida and Tennessee at home. They got to go to Georgia. And then, they got Louisville at home at the end of the year in a non-conference.
May I say something? You're more of a Mid-East person, right? I believe picking up, when you got 24 guys from Ohio, and I'm prejudiced, Ohio has a nice high school base there, and that's they're recruiting big time. They're not getting away from Ohio State, but they're getting a lot of people that Ohio State maybe doesn't want, and that's not too bad.
That second tier of Ohio kids, I mean, they're Lexington is about an hour and a half from Cincinnati, and Cincinnati has great high school football.
Yes.
So they're getting some of those guys and getting into Indianapolis and things like that. So Stoops is doing a really good job. I mean, I'm impressed with what he's done there. If you'd have told me this a few years ago that he would be on the verge of possibly contending or being in the conversation of a SEC East with Georgia and Florida, things like that.
You okay?
I'd have been like, whatever you're smoking, just stay with it. So, but and then I got in the rest of that tier, I got Georgia and Florida, the East. I think Florida, there's just so many question marks with who's going to quarterback. Is their offensive line going to improve from giving up a ton of sacks and getting every quarterback they had hurt last year? Losing, Callaway, their best playmaker, because he can't keep his nose out of trouble. They're going to have to depend. They're going to have to depend on the defense again, which I don't know if you can keep reloading, and playing the schedule that they play. So, but then Georgia, I like Georgia a lot too. I like their defense is really strong. Maybe the best in the SEC. The two running backs, the quarterback. If the offensive line gels for them, they could make some noise in the championship game, playing either whoever they play from the West. But if that offensive line comes together, that they will be really, really good. Then
Billy, I like this guy.
Two-tier.
He's better than Jeff.
Tier two. I'm going with LSU. There's just so much talent. It's got to come together sometime. And then Auburn. I really like Auburn's defense. Stidham is, we got a small sample size of him when he was at Baylor, but it was a good small sample size. And Petway, handing the ball off to him, you can't go wrong. Big old back.
Big old back.
Big old back. And then I got my Tier 1 Alabama. You know, they just keep coming at you and coming at you and coming at you. So my top 5 would be Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Georgia, and Florida, and Kentucky knocking on that door.
And Saban didn't have time to watch the eclipse. He said that was shit. According to what
bullshit. Yeah, he just said he had better things to do. Who asked him anyway?
There was a
a
reporter asked him
really?
about it. Yeah.
He probably planted that guy in there. I don't believe that. So, you guys basically, you kind of broke ranks from 3 down to 5. And I just wanted to put this out there. Which team do you think in the SEC could knock off Bama in the championship game?
Auburn. Or Georgia. I believe both of them could on the right day.
Yeah. I mean, I think those are the only two that really have the stuff. I mean, they could be playing an 85%. Now, they don't have to play the perfect game to beat Alabama. It's one of those where they have enough talent where, I mean, if they're playing a A- game or a B+ game, they could catch them. Yeah,
they could catch them. All right. Well, all right, guys. It's time to get to what is that group out there? Yes, the Pac-12. The team that actually manages to change its name when it adds teams.
Finally, somebody does that. The Big Ten went to the 14. They still the Big Ten or the Big One. Pac-10 went to the Big Pac-12. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Big
I'm old
12
enough to actually
10,
remember the
Pac-8.
Pac-8.
They can't go to the Big 10. God bless, there's somebody out in the left over there that does their shit right now.
I actually remember the
That's
Pac-8.
about it. But,
So,
okay.
All right. So, Georgie, like to lead off?
Well, let's talk about No, that's not UCLA. There's one that's they're going to be down to 12, but this is going to be the most. I will sit there at night and watch them at midnight with the California Bears. They now have finally got a defensive coach, Wilcox, who's had 5 top 25 defenses in the last 11 seasons, and they have not. They play defense like Kyrie Irving. They're none. Now it's going to be interesting. So I'm just going to say they're the worst, but I will enjoy watching them because he's going to finally kick their ass to play defense because they haven't played defense since I was born, maybe. So the rest of it, we'll go into a 4-tier thing. Arizona, I think Rodriguez's fan is in deep heat. He blamed it on the injuries last year. If it's still the same thing this year, you may see another coach in that one. Oregon State, I'm pushing for them. They're my team. They're not going to make it, but I'm going bull bound for the Beavers. And I think that movie was back in the 70s, but I'm not going to get into that. So but I really think that Anderson has now his plan, and they're going to move up, but this year the schedule is absolutely brutal, so they're not going to do much. Arizona State just got, I guess the chancellor or some said, Graham, you do it this year or you're gone. So he has a little pressure on his butt, but I just don't see them getting bad. And Colorado, their defense, they lost their quarterback, but Montez is, I think, just as good as the guy, I can't say his name, but the defense has only 3 starters left, so I'll put them in that group. Then you have, I'm sorry to say, well, the Utahs. The Utahs, I don't have anything to say about. They're just, Whittingham is going to win about 6-7 games, and that's about it. And I wish I could say better, Billy, but I don't see UCLA doing much. If Rosen plays all year, they're going to pick up about 7 points per team. The defense is solid, but despite we've talked about it, I think you need a new coach, and I don't really. I know he did good for 3 years, but I think it's stale now, and I wish him well, but they'll make a bowl, but I don't think they're going to be in the top. Now the top 5, I got Washington State, Falk pitching the ball. Defense is adequate, only 26 points. And I promise, this is the lock of the year. They will beat Montana State in the opener after losing 2 straight years to the underdogs there. Oregon is going to come back and be 18th in my prediction. I don't really think is that much impressive, but They have what I'm loving is the offensive coordinator who is Levitt, or that's defensive. You have an offensive coordinator coming in, and I think the D will improve. The offense had a lag year last year, but they're going to come. USC at 13, you got to love the quarterback and the running back. The new receivers, they got to step up. We'll see. Defense is solid, but their one weak link is the special teams, where they lose Jackson from running back, and their kicker got booted off the team. So they're the best number 13 team in recent years. They could easily go undefeated if everything works out the way. Now I'm going to my always. There's two teams that are fetish: Stanford and Wisconsin. And Stanford to me is just like Wisconsin in the Midwest. They do the same thing. They play defense. They don't commit penalties. They do what they're supposed to do. They got everything going. I got them number 8. But I got to put Washington number 4. They scored 42 and gave up 18, and Browning and company is going to roll without Ross even. And if the defensive backs come through, their defense is going to be just as good. I got Washington at number 4.
Okay.
Good deal.
All right, Georgie. I guess I should. Poor kid that was on our show 2 weeks ago.
What happened?
I hate to think he's only going to have his coach around for a year.
Who's that?
We had a young man,
quarterback
from
Bishop Gorman.
Bishop Gorman, committed to UCLA.
I don't see that. I didn't say. I didn't mean that. I mean, Rosen is gone this year, although Morris says that he's coming back.
No, we were referring to Mora, not the quarterback.
Yeah, well, I understand that. That's my opinion. People don't agree with me. He had 3 straight beautiful years, but these last couple of years have been really
about that.
I
difficult. I mean, yes.
I mean, you think
can I say one thing
with
no.
We have time here.
Don't believe in
we
change.
have plenty of time. But can I say this? That Martell, who went to Ohio State, had his black stripe taken off. Meyer absolutely loves this guy, but he's like 4th string now. But when you take off the black stripe in Ohio State, maybe Brett knows this.
Definitely.
This means you probably won't redshirt, maybe he will.
Probably will.
He is definitely in the Ohio State radar as far as their future, and I think that's kind of neat because the defensive players, who Ohio State probably is in the top 5 in defense, says this is the most elusive. I won't use the bub. I will go bleep bleep. That they've seen in years. So he's making already a serious effect with Ohio State offense.
Yep. Both the kids that from Gorman
and the other guy
lost their back stripes already.
Garrett or whatever, of the
Haskell
offensive
Garrett.
lineman.
Yeah, he lost his stripe too. So
I can't top you, Brett. You're just you know what? You're no slouch.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
All right, Brett.
All right, my tier 4. I got Cal and Arizona. I do like the moves Cal was made, like George said, with the coaching changes. It's just going to take some time with them. Arizona State, Graham is on hot seat. You could see 2 new coaches down in AZ next year in both those universities. Tier 3, got Oregon State. There's something there, but it's just not enough in the conference,
Bull-bound Beavers, baby.
Yeah,
bull-bound Beavers.
So, and I think Colorado is going to take a step back this year.
Where's Vanessa at when you need her? I'm sorry, I didn't mean that out loud. Okay, let me go. Okay.
I think Colorado is going to take a step back. I think losing Levitt, their defensive coordinator, to Oregon is a big thing, big loss for them. UCLA, Rosen he's good. I mean, he's an NFL player, but just I don't know if he's got enough to go with him. I think they're like the second best team in the South, and there's a big gap.
There is a big gap.
So
I'll even admit that.
Then Wazoo, with Folk back, they're going to win some games, and then they're going to have those games where in their bowl game they should have beat a depleted Minnesota team and they couldn't do anything against them. So it's just one of those up and down teams. Oregon's going to be improved, like the young quarterback with Levitt going there trying to improve that defense, which really needed. They can only go
last year.
Up.
They can only go up.
Yeah. So and then Utah is Utah, just like George said. Then my tier 2, I got Washington. I like Washington a lot. Their young skilled team players are really good. Defensively, they're strong. The only thing it worries about is the inexperienced secondary in the league where they sling it around. So I got them at tier 2. Tier 1, I got USC and Stanford. I love Stanford, just the way they play. They're so consistent. They got Washington at home, which is one of my factors on probably putting them to win the North. They got strong defense, great offensive line play, and that's something I always look at when I like teams. And then SC's loaded with skilled players. Defense is going to be really good. The only thing that really scares me about SC is they don't get a bye. They got 12 straight weeks of playing.
Plus Bill don't like them.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I didn't plan their schedule. Look at me.
So that could be a factor in fatiguing down the road.
And I hope so.
Schedule, I mean, they got Notre Dame at home. They got what am I looking at here? Oh, wrong one. They got Stanford at home. They got to play Texas. Those are 2 really early games, like a second and third week of the season. They got to go to Notre Dame, to Colorado, which I don't think that's going to be a problem. At Wazoo, which could be a hiccup. You never know what the weather's going to be like up there, or anything like that.
Cold and wet.
Yep, and then they got UCLA at home. So I'm going to go with SC 1, Stanford 2, Washington 3, Oregon 4, and Wazoo, Washington State 5.
And Oregon State 6th.
Yeah, probably, yes.
Yeah, okay.
That was USC, Stanford, Oregon, and
I got USC, Stanford, Washington, Oregon, Washington State.
And then Oregon and Washington State.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's the one division that I really pay attention to as far as the conference is concerned. And I'll be the first to admit, there is a gap between Westwood and LA, and it's no joke. I think that Rosen will absolutely be playing on Sunday should he stay healthy, because he's playing for more. You're playing on an NFL style offense. But I do think that I don't like change. I would prefer the Morris stay there. But I think that unless he can beat SC and have a really good record this year,
what's the record got to be?
I think he's got to have. I think he's got to have 10 wins.
Ooh, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think he's got to have 10 to stay. That's my fear.
How much?
10.
He said 10
to stay.
I got him at 7.
That's what I was thinking. 7 or 8.
And again, it's I think 7 and 8 won't keep a job. That's the thing. I think that those are realistic.
Well, Magic will need a job after the Lakers, so maybe he can take over.
Well, here the question was how many did I think he needed to win to keep his job.
Okay.
His job, yeah.
7 and 8 aren't going to cut it.
Right.
10 he will absolutely stay.
But he has 7 and 8 talent. That's the thing.
That's the problem.
power.
I think he has. Actually, if you read this SB Nation, I'm really big on that. This Bill Connolly, who's pastor,
really good.
What's his face? He believes they're in top 15 talent. They just don't. The talent is not being used properly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just an amateur at this.
And with USC has done a great job of recruiting the last year or two, and before that, Moore had an opportunity to pick up some guys that he really didn't. But again, they're a good team. It's just, first of all, UCLA will never ever be a football school.
Right.
It will always be a basketball school and baseball. But hey, listen, when you win over 100 national titles,
Oh boy,
you can afford it.
Yeah, but I don't count bingo.
Yeah, well, somebody does.
I'm kidding. Speak up. I can't hear you.
Somebody does. All right, guys. We're in the home stretch here now, and it's time for the Big 14. I'm sorry, the Big 10.
Well, it should be, yes. All right, let's start out here with the two scrubs. The biggest scrub is Illinois, and I hate to say this, but Lovie Smith, after only 2 years, the talent is questionable. I think he's questionable. He should have his butt frying. They are the worst. This is almost ridiculous. They went 3 and out. They were the 8th worst team, and they 3 and out on defense. They were the 9th worst team, so they couldn't get off the field. And I love, he won with Rex Grossman, so I got to give him credit for that. But this is a different situation, and I think he's on steep problems. The other team, I'm optimistic. The Rutgers team. Chris Ash from Ohio State has made them competitive, and I wish Jeff was here for his halftime double down on whatever, but I think they're going to be one of the best against the spread teams around, and next year I think they're going to be moving on up.
Real quick here, George, what do you think about the opening line when they play Washington next weekend?
I knew you were going to say this, and I hate this because I haven't really even looked at anything. So what are they playing?
They're playing Washington. Washington's got to go to Rutgers, and it's about 30.5, 31.5, 30.
Oh yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's what I figured.
That's I'm sorry, I'm not on to that because Bill has me under the whip just to do this stuff. I mean, it's cataracts and all. I don't have a chance to even look at that yet, but I'm getting to it. Okay. Then comes another interesting team in the next tier, and I'll use Maryland. I just see that I don't think they're just like Illinois. But unfortunately they're better. Well, they're fortunately better than Illinois. They play to their schedule. They'll beat who they're supposed to beat. They'll lose and get the crap beat out of them by who they're supposed to lose. But another team against the spread is Brown coming up with Purdue. I don't know if they're going to win many games, but because their defense, is a sieve. But I think this guy is going to make them very much competitive in the years coming down. I think the Tiller years are coming back for Purdue, and I'm very impressed with them. Unfortunately, somebody, I don't remember whether it was you, Brett, or your constituent, I think Michigan State this year is absolutely going to stink.
Oh, that was Jeff.
They're green as hell.
I think they're taking a step backwards.
Yeah, well, in the program last week, one of you guys said that they were going to move back up into the top. Well, they're not. They've lost so much.
I hate to throw the sick under the bus, but that was Jeff.
Yeah, wasn't me.
That's fine.
I can assure you.
I wrote down it's either a blip or a downturn, and they lost so much for the sexual things that happened, but I don't think D'Antonio is in the hot seat, but another year like this could put him in that seat because Michigan State has been such a proud school in those years that I don't, I think this year they got to at least get to 6-6, and that's sad to say that the 6-6 is good for such a great program as they are. Now the next group I got Indiana, and I can't remember this the last time that Indiana actually their defense is better than their offense. They have a fantastic defense. The offense will they go from passing to a running game because they got an offensive coordinator who comes from, I believe, Tennessee, who they threw him out.
The board.
And the board or something. Am I right on that?
Yep.
And they didn't really like him, but their defense should cover them to at least be a better team. And Nebraska, they have now become consistently mediocre. That's all I have to say there. Riley is consistent. He's got mediocre teams. Nebraska, mediocre. Then your boys, Iowa. I had them down for a while, and then Butler from Nevada came into the picture, and they went back to the old Iowa. They have a fine running game and a typical very good defense, so they're cool. Northwestern is they're right outside of my top 25. They have probably their best team since Fitzgerald had them. They have some interest. They have no OSU, no Michigan, and they return a lot of their best players. 8 on offense, 8 on defense. They're just outside, I think, 26 or 27. Now I'll underrate somebody at 21. I don't. Michigan, I got at 21. I can't put, as much as Harbaugh is the greatest coach ever to live. I'm sorry, when you only have 5 starters returning, these freshmen will be monsters in the years coming up, but they still have to perform. And freshmen just, they don't have enough experience to do that. Wisconsin, a ditto for Stanford, just the same. They have a good offensive line. They run. They control the clock. They have good special teams. Minimum penalties and defense. Stanford, exactly the same. They go 9. Penn State, led by Barkley, their offense will be solid. Defense isn't super, but it's good enough to get by. Suggestion, though, they need to now play the first half or the second half, or the first half like they play the second half. They may go undefeated if they ever did that. As if you look up their record, they struggled in the first half, but they won. Their only problem is that people are going to be. There's no more sneaking up on them and saying, "Woo, I'm here." They are there. And then Ohio State, I'm not even going to tell. Barrett's going to have his best stats of his career only because of 2 things: Wilson and Day, 2 offensive coordinators. Illinois, and I don't know where Day came from, but this is they've already night and day. I've been following this for weeks. Their offense is going to be so different. Deep defensive line, top 3. The rest, linebackers and offensive defensive backs, they just replace the graduates. I got them number 2. And that's it for me.
All right, Georgie.
I'm going to go with the bottom. I'm with George. Illinois is absolute train wreck. Then 2 up-and-coming teams with Purdue and Rutgers. They're going to be better, more competitive, but it won't show on the wins and losses. And then Michigan State, just right above them. And then Indiana, Maryland. I think I got Maryland and Indiana. The team that's going to be kind of interesting to me is Minnesota. With an influx of PJ Fleck.
I skipped them over. Yes. The Fleck boys.
Yeah, I think, with his enthusiasm, with his whatever he's got, they need to bottle that stuff up and sell it. But, I mean, he's taken over a program that had 9 wins.
Yeah.
It's not like they were, 4 and 8 or whatever. They won 9 games and won a bowl last year, and he's coming in, and he's got to find a quarterback, but he's coming in. The cupboard's not bare, and if you've watched any of the TV show with him, I'm PJ Fleck or something like that. It's on ESPN or whatever. It's it's one of those where you just go, okay, I want to play for that guy.
Play for this guy. Yeah.
Do you agree? Can I ask you this? I'm butting in, but I'm gonna. This is thing that I've read somewhere. I have no idea because I read so many things. That a lot of people above Minnesota that could have changed as far as programs did not want him because he's too outspoken.
Yeah.
Could that be possible?
I mean, it could rub people the wrong way, but
yeah.
Absolutely. You remember, there's always an AD and there's always a president that you've got to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the pecking order of coaches in this day and age, it's the football coach, then the AD, and then the president in that line.
Yep. So they're interesting to me. I think Nebraska, is. I'm not sold on Nebraska this year. I don't know what they're seeing in Tanner Lee, who's played at Tulane, and the stats just don't back him or Nebraska saying, "Okay, come and play for us." I don't get that. Iowa's going to be just solid at home. They'll be good. Things like that. I like Northwestern. I really do. I think they'll contend in the West. They got to play Wisconsin early, so. I wish that game would be later, just for suspense purposes, I guess, in the West. And then my Tier 2 team is Michigan. Michigan is just on talent and coaching with Harbaugh. I think they just lost so much. They lost so many skilled players. I like their running back stable, but they're gonna struggle. They're gonna lose a few games and things like that. I mean,
they're not going to be bad.
No, they're not going to be bad. They're just they're for Michigan standards, I guess. That has been set with Harbaugh there. I mean, I can see them losing 3 or 4 games. You know.
He didn't have enough sleepovers, that's all.
Yeah.
What do you think about him not releasing his roster from last year? A New Jersey petition. He has not updated his roster till the end of the last year. They still got Peppers on his roster.
Oh, no kidding.
Is that being a jackass or what?
That's just the goofy guy that he is.
Okay, all right.
I don't get it.
His way or the highway.
He lives in his own world. So...
Okay.
Then
so do I, but I don't get paid like that.
You don't get paid $9 million a year, right? To be weird.
No, so you can be quirky. I do that on daily. I talk to Bull. No, I don't. Never mind. I'm going to get.
My Tier 1s are Wisconsin. I think their schedule plays for them to possibly run the table.
Wow. They
get Michigan at home, and then. They get Northwestern at home. They got to go to Nebraska. Their schedule just lays out. They don't have Ohio State. Don't have Penn State from the other side. Penn State's my other school, loaded offensively. Might have the best running back in the country with Barkley. Offensive line returns, solid D. Schedules, they got to play Michigan at home, at Ohio State. And then, going up to East Lansing, you never know. I don't think they're going to lose that game, but coming off back-to-back between Michigan and Ohio State is tough anyways in the middle of the season. And then I have Ohio State coming back, got a 4-year starter, J.T. Barrett, 4 offensive line return, 1,200-yard rusher with backs pushing that 1,200-yard rusher for playing time.
My friends, watch Dobbins as a freshman.
Yes.
He
lost his stripe real quick.
A junior in high school, he said he's as good as anybody I've ever seen. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then the defensive line's loaded. Might be the best in the country. Definitely a top 5 defense. Secondary is going to be a little bit young, but I love who they got coming in. See some true freshmen playing. Linebackers are big and fast. Things are worried about me. They got to get some receiver play. The kicking game worries about just a little bit. But other than that, the schedule, they got Oklahoma at home. I got to go to Nebraska, Penn State at home, at Iowa. Always a tricky road trip. And then they got to go to Michigan. So like George said, I really think that J.T. Barrett has a really, really good shot at winning the Heisman Trophy this year.
Right.
And I really mean about the offensive coordinators. They have, even Barrett on Bleacher Report says they're the 2 most phenomenal people. And you said all you have to look is Wilson's stats with Indiana before he got booted for whatever the hell he got booted.
And then Greg Schiano Schiano, the defensive coordinator, said this might be the best defensive line he's ever been around, pro or college.
Including better than Tampa Bay. Yep. Well, guys, listen, we've got a little less than a minute. I'd like to thank you both once again for, wrapping up our college football preview. It's been a great few weeks. Needless to say, you guys will both be on, but thank you both very much for coming in tonight. Jeff, hope you feel better.
Definitely.
Folks, join us next week. It'll be our last Monday broadcast on the 28th at 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. In September, we switch to Wednesdays. Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WWDBTV.com.
Thanks, Billy and Brett. Have a good night.
See you, George.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
George. Have a great week.